They talk about the boom, but do they mention the bust? The headlines scream luxury, but the numbers don't lie. It's time to look the market straight in the eye.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, the authority here, making the complex simple, making the murky clear. From the buy side pressure to the sell side heat, we're tracking every move on the concrete street. We got the data, the stats, the metrics you need. Beyond the flash and the glamour, we're planting the seed of truth. We analyze the trends, we map out the spread. Is it vintage charm or a money pit trap? We're looking at the analytics, closing the gap. Past performance, present shock, future prediction. Separating hard reality from the friction of fiction. No sugarcoating, no fluff, no disguise. Just the raw condo numbers right before your eyes. South Florida is shifting, the tides start to turn. If you don't know the math, you're gonna get burned. Yeah, this is the Miami Condo Exchange.
Welcome to the Miami Condo Exchange, where we break down the price, the scope, and the range.
With Peter Zalewski, keeping it real, digging deep in the dirt of every single deal. From the buy side pressure to the sell side heat, the only podcast you need on the Miami street. Hey.
Real numbers, real talk.
The hyperbole stops here. This is the Miami Condo.
Number exchange, y'all.
Happy Tuesday, Miami. This is the Miami Condo Exchange, a data analytics and metrics analysis of what's going on in the Tri-County, South Florida area. Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. What are we going to be talking about today? We are talking about the potential Mar-a-Lago effect. Mar-a-Lago, we've all heard about it. We all know what it is. That is the estate where President Donald Trump spends his weekends, at least a lot of the weekends. It's an estate that is located on the barrier island of Palm Beach Island. It's across a short little bridge away from downtown West Palm Beach. Why are we talking about that if we're talking about metrics, condo stats, and analytics? We're talking about it because Palm Beach County, I would argue, because of everything that's going on in Mar-a-Lago as well as West Palm Beach, is really what's driving that market. It's driving it to the point where Palm Beach County is the strongest condo market in the Tri-County, South Florida area of Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. Now, it's kind of interesting to kind of take a look at the numbers and kind of get into it, and that's exactly what we're going to do today on this episode of the Miami Condo Exchange. I do it live every Tuesday at 4 o'clock. We're always talking numbers. We're always talking about what kind of coming down, what's happening. Try to give you some insight kind of ahead of the curve. Because you're watching this podcast live, you're going to be able to see all of the statistics. Once the podcast actually ends, what I'll then do is we'll edit it and we will post it and it'll be available on demand. If you want to get behind the paywall at that moment, you're going to have to be a member of the Miami Condo Investing Club. What's the Miami Condo Investing Club? It is an organization, a community that we're building for those people who are interested in condo statistics. Anything related to condos, whether it be information about what's going on with the milestone inspections, as well as the structural integrity reserve studies, the latest data, the latest analytics, maybe our take on what could be happening in the market. Why is it happening? All the stuff that the industry doesn't necessarily put out there. Why? Because the industry is on the sell side. What is our role? Our role is to understand and analyze the market and give you straight talk about what's going on. So If you are in the market for a condo, whether you are a DIY, do-it-yourself buyer, whether you're working with a realtor, whether you are a realtor, maybe you're a lender, maybe you're a regulator, maybe you're just somebody who's a gadfly and interested in the overall marketplace, this is a site you should consider. This is an organization you should consider joining. If you want information about it, go to miamicondo.club. As part of our overview, what we do every Saturday is we do a walking tour. We'll also do bus tours. But walking tours every Saturday from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We travel about 4 miles, leisurely pace. Basically, I teach you how to analyze condo projects. We always say you're looking for a condo, you should first find the buildings that make sense. Once you have the buildings that make sense, then you can drill down and really sort of focus on the individual units. Too many people come into the market and they will chase one unit after another. Once they actually go under contract, they get a copy of all the information. They do their due diligence, and you know what happens? A lot of times the deals crap out. Why? There could be all kinds of stipulations and issues related to a condo that if you don't know going in, you're simply just wasting time. I like to say if you're chasing condos, it's almost like herding cats. Good luck trying to pull that one off. So it's part of helping the public to understand what's going on in the condo market. We offer these tours, like I mentioned, 3-hour tour. You wander around, you get an idea of what's going on in the marketplace. I give you a list of all the condos that pertain or exist in a particular market. I teach you how to analyze them. You get in your steps. You get a sense of the history of a market, and you understand exactly what is going on in that market. So if you are going to decide to go forward in a market today, that's like today, where it's a buyer's market, you have growing inventory, you have falling sales, and you have prices cracking, starting to show signs of coming down, a little bit challenging. And if you don't necessarily come in there well equipped and well informed as to what the latest is, it could be a mistake. Remember, you make your money on the buy, not necessarily on the sell. And that's what the tours are all about. It's straight talk. I'm not selling you anything. I'm basically just giving the information, helping you to understand the market. So if you were a buyer and you're working with a realtor, bring your realtor along. You're going to have to buy them a ticket, but go ahead and bring them along. We welcome anybody and everybody. And it's all we do is we talk condos. I like to say it's almost like a college class taught on the streets. It'll be a workshop, if you will, and you'll be able to take it all in. What tour are we doing this week? We're doing Coconut Grove for the first time ever, and I've been doing these tours since December of 2013. We're doing the Coconut Grove market. It is an enclave, a wealthy enclave in the city of Miami. It's just south of it. That's the place where Ken Griffin, that billionaire that we all keep hearing about, that's where Ken Griffin lives. It's a place that has historical significance. It was actually set up even before the city of Miami in terms of the population. Ultimately, it got incorporated in 1919. City of Miami was incorporated in 1896. In and around the Great Florida land boom, what happened? Well, legislature gave the city of Miami the ability to expand with hostile takeovers. And the city of Miami actually took over after 6 years in existence, formally took over the municipality of Coconut Grove and wrapped it all in there. So Coconut Grove is a dynamic place. It's contributed to the zeitgeist of the United States. It's an area where in the 1960s, you had a lot of the hippies, the yippies, musicians like David Crosby, Neil Young, as well as Joni Mitchell. They all used to perform, and they were all in and around there. It sort of morphed into this, or I guess really kind of maintained its original origins, which was that of sort of a bohemian type of community, and it still exists today. It's going through great transformation. We got a number of condo projects going up. We've got some high-priced condo projects going up. What we're going to do on the tour on Saturday, we're going to take you all around there, give you a list of all the condo projects that exist in Coconut Grove, and help you get an idea if this is a market you might want to play in. So if you have any interest in Coconut Grove, I'd encourage you to go ahead and sign up for the tour. You can get information at miamicondo.club or go directly to the ticketing agency, which the website is miamicondoclub.eventbrite.com. Now that I'm done with the advertisement, let's go ahead and let's get into what's going on this week in the South Florida condo market. As you all know, we created an index on January 1st of 2025. It's called South Florida Condo Association Financial Cliff Index. That's a lot. Easy way to refer to it is the Condo Cliff Index. People on the sell side, they don't necessarily like it. Why? Because it sort of provides the idea that maybe the market's going through some sort of shakeout. And that's exactly what we think is going on. Why is the market shaking out? It's shaking out because of legislation that was passed in the months and the years since the Surfside condo collapse back in June of 2021, where nearly 100 people died A $1 billion settlement was paid out to the families of the victims. And because of the changes that have been implemented, I would argue, because of lobbying by the insurance industry, now there's all sorts of extra burden that comes with living in a condo, including the financial burden. That financial burden, because many of these buildings have been studied in terms of for their life safety issues, what we're finding is that the cost of condo living has gone up. It's gone up significantly, and as a result of that, many sellers are heading for the exits. They can't necessarily afford to live in their condos, or maybe they don't want to live in their condos. Even if they could afford to live in the condos, they want to go through the work that's going to be necessary. A general contractor who does restoration work told me every $2 million of restoration work that's going to be done, that effectively means about 1 year of labor. And so a $6 million restoration job on a project based on studies that were done, whether it's a structural integrity reserve study, which is done every 10 years, or a milestone inspection, which is done at year 30, it means there's going to be work done. That means people are going to be swinging hammers. They're going to have jackhammers. You're going to have nails laying all around. You have people, construction workers showing up at the job site, which is your condo, showing up 7 in the morning before they start at 8, possibly start at 7:30. They're hanging out. They're smoking a cigarette. They got their coolers with them, making small talk. And then in the middle of the day, you can always count on those food trucks come rolling in. Back in the day, we used to call them roach coaches. They blast that horn. It makes it like, the interesting sound. All the construction workers come down. They want something to eat. They want to get some coffee. They want to drink. They want whatever. This becomes part of your ritual of living in a condo. And remember, every $2 million of work means 1 year of labor. And if that contractor is falling behind in the work that's necessary, you might be hanging out at the swimming pool on a Saturday or Sunday. And it's not necessarily going to be tranquil like you imagined. Why? Because people might be swinging hammers. They might be working on the weekends, which is ultimately the worst thing that could happen if you're in a condo, because this sound tends to echo. I speak from experience. Another good thing about when they're doing the restoration work, you tend to get a lot of flat tires. I don't have a car now, but I did have a car. And at the time when we were going through restoration work, what happened? You would get flat tires all the time. Somehow, some way, there's always debris in the roads, in the parking lot, parking garage, and that ultimately leads to a bunch of different headaches. So keep that in mind when you're kind of looking at some of these condos, some of these projects that are going through the restoration work. And what's happening is people are exiting. They're looking to get out because they don't want to live through it, or simply they don't want to afford it. And more importantly, it's increasingly becoming cheaper to rent a place rather than to own a condo. That's what we're up against right now in 2026, because the legislature is now requiring all these associations who've been forced to do studies to actually start to fund it. Got to start funding it in 2026. Whether you raise reserves from all of your unit owners or you take out a loan. Now, if you go the reserve way, basically most condo associations give all unit owners roughly about a year to come up with all the cash that's necessary, and or the association can go ahead and take out a loan. The problem with taking out a loan is interest rates are 9-10%. Right now, mortgages are coming in with a 6 handle, and you're looking at interest rates at 9 to 10%. Why? Because it's a little bit of a risky type of loan. And increasingly, Wall Street types of lenders, private lenders, are the ones filling the gap because banks might actually be stepping back on it. So that is the state of our condo market in general. But what's actually going on market by market? And when we created this index, we were anticipating that there was going to be downward pressure on pricing because of everything that was necessary to get these condos all in shape, top notch, and secure from a life safety perspective. And it's playing out. It's playing out just like we first called in June of 2024 when we talked about a cliff coming on. 2025 kind of played out. And right now it's all, the rubber's meeting the road, and it starts to become very interesting. And what we're finding in going through and tracking our index, which is done every week, we always do it on Tuesdays. We put it together in the morning, and then I get out here and I do a podcast at 4:00 on Tuesdays, give you an update. And what is the index meant to do? It's meant to give you real-time information about the marketplace week over week over week. If you rely on closed sales data and the data is released quarterly, which most of it is, and then there's a lag time once the quarter ends in order to process the information, you might be getting information that's more than 90 days old. What good is that if the market changes and the market changes dramatically? And you're looking at information that occurred, back in November, and here we are sitting at the end of February on the back half of the winter buying season. By the way, winter buying season goes from November through April. This is the time at which a lot of people shop for condos. They come here for an event. They come here for vacation. They come here for maybe to go on a cruise. While they're here, they start to realize that they kind of like it. It doesn't matter if they're in Miami-Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach County. Once they realize that they like it, they say, you know what, let's start kicking the tires. We'll go out there. We'll check it all out. If they pursue it, by the time they find the place that makes sense, they get it under contract, and then they go forward and they transact. And if there's due diligence involved, especially from a financing perspective, you're looking at 30 to 60 days. So many people shop in the winter, again, November through April, and many of the deals end up transacting in the summer buying season, which will go from May through October. So it's always sort of important to kind of pay attention to the numbers. And because we're with our index, we're tracking week over week over week. We're giving you real time as to which markets are in play and which markets